Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Real Estate Meets Finance. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting with Mr. Arif Nasser, real estate agent with Royal LePage.
Yes, Royal LePage Signature.
Royal LePage Signature. And he's going to be giving us some tidbits about real estate and what we can expect in this different climate right now as it continues to unfold. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you got started in your real estate journey and take it away. Let us know.
Absolutely. So as Anthony alluded to, I'm Arif Nasser with Royal LePage Signature. I started in real estate in 2017. And before that, I actually worked at Imperial Tobacco doing pricing and marketing strategies for them and talked to the CEO. And before I turned 30, my dream was always to travel the world. Mm-hmm. So they gave me an 18-month sabbatical. And I traveled around the world for 426 days with a backpack, came back and said, I don't feel like working for anybody. And real estate had always seemed to be my calling. So I came back, opened up a white glove delivery service company to make some money on the side as I studied for real estate, got into real estate full-fledged, sold the delivery company, and here I am today.
Well, that is the entrepreneurial spirit at its best for sure. And, backpacking for 18 months must have been quite the experience.
100% life-changing experience, provided new perspective. And I mean, it showed me that money isn't everything.
Yeah,
It's a matter of happiness and the way you live. I mean, you see families in Laos living off 25 cents a day with smiles on their face, right? So it really changes your perspective and really lets you analyze what's truly important in life.
Amazing, right? Amazing. Must have been quite the experience. Given our climate that we're in right now, and obviously with so many things that are happening south of the border. How would you see the current market right now in the real estate? What would be your opinion as to what we can expect, or at least what the borrowers, consumers can expect in both the real estate market and on the financing side?
Okay, yeah. So interesting question, because this is a question us real estate agents get all the time, and varying answers. I mean, what we've seen is consumer confidence is kind of low right now, and that's mainly because of the trade war and the tariffs and all the economic uncertainty that's happening in the US right now. And that's pushing buyers to sit on the sidelines and waiting for more certainty, right? Because they just don't know what's going to happen. And we've seen that. I mean, it's funny because the news will always say, sales have gone down by 23%. But they're addressing that as the actual price for a good. But it's actually the sales listing ratio that has come down by 23%. Prices have only come down, or actually they've increased since last year by 0.8%, right? Okay. 2.5% from 2 years ago.
Interesting.
So it's a steady increase. It's a steady, very nominal increase. But what we're seeing is the market's staying relatively stable, right? We do have a lot of supply, right? The main thing is though, and where you're going to find opportunity is in the condo market.
Right. Okay,
yeah. I mean, foreign buyer ban, that all these are leading to an increase in supply.
Right.
And also the fact that a lot of people have mortgage renewals coming up. Right. And a lot of these guys actually just went, and in 2021, 2022, when the interest rates were 1.5%, they were maxing out their mortgages, right? 100%. And now it's 2.5% higher than what it actually is now. Yeah. A lot of them won't be able to afford their new payment structure.
In some cases, it's 3.5.
Exactly, right? So that's causing a lot of supply to come back on the market, and I mean, in some cases, fire sales. But when it comes to condos in downtown, like as a GTA as a whole, we have like 6 months of inventory, but if you're focusing on downtown, you have 9 months of inventory.
Yeah.
So that is very much a buyer's market, and there's a lot of opportunity there. And quick little cool stat, the market share of sales for condos, like 40% of the market share of sales in condos have all been under $600,000 or $500,000.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So it's a lot of these first-time home buyers who see the potential and the opportunity of growth and appreciation in that condo market now, making the decision, you know what, I'm going to get it now, and I'm going to reap the benefits on the appreciation side. Later down the road.
Okay.
Right?
Well, it makes sense. You're referring to the condo market, at least in my opinion. I see it with interest rates dropping and so much inventory on the market. Obviously, there's a lot more that you can negotiate for, right?
Absolutely.
Because of the inventory. But what I do see happening is that as builders continue to stop building, though that inventory is going to shrink. So to your point, it's probably a great time right now to get into the market. And if you are one that's looking for a condo, probably the best time right now to get in there. Interest rates are low. You've got lots of inventory. There's a lot of negotiating power for real estates to go in there and probably get a great price for these condos. And possibly in 2-3 years, you'll start seeing these condos go right back up because the inventory is going to shrink.
Exactly.
So we always go back to that supply and demand issue.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So that's awesome. Great points. I appreciate that. From a buyer's perspective, when they come to you, how would you help them navigate them through the home buyer's process? Is there something that you have or that you would sit with them and kind of steer them as to how they should approach purchasing a home?
Absolutely. So the first step, and it's funny because I won't work with the buyer until they have a pre-approval in hand. Oh. And the reason why I do that is a lot of people, I just want to see what's on the market. The problem with that is I might be showing them $1 million property, but they can only afford $800,000. So their expectations or their feeling has just been diminished as a result, because we've been seeing properties around that $1 million mark. Now we have to come $200,000 cheaper. And I mean, the difference in property is quite extensive when you consider that price point. So first step is getting a pre-approval. See how much you can afford. And then explaining and then talking to them about important factors, their lifestyle. Sure. So are schools important? Sure. Area important? Like all these other factors that affect their lifestyle are questions that we need to ask so we know exactly how to focus our search and criteria for them to find them the perfect property. And as we figure out those details, then obviously you start showing them homes. Now, there are some people who are like, oh, so are you doing research on the homes before? And right. Typically, we find the properties that could have potential, right? And there's no other research being done. I mean, other than your MLS listing information. But as soon as they come back and they I love this property, that's when you dig down, you grind out and you figure out all the details. You look at comparables in the area. You give them all the tools necessary in order for them to make the right decision, right? But there's also offer strategies. This can be intertwined into so many different avenues and so many pieces, but it's just making sure that you're their main point of contact. So you've guided them through the pre-approval. You've shown them homes. Now you explain the offer process, right? And then also, if it's a first-time home buyer, they're like, what else do I need to worry about? So what Veronica and I do actually, because we're a team, we send out an email. It's called Next Steps once a property is closed. Oh, that's and we list out everything that needs to be done. So would it be providing the deposit in 24 hours? It's informing your mortgage broker, informing your lawyer, sending them the APS, remembering about utilities. Finding out which utilities for them they need to apply for in whatever city they choose to buy. And then things like insurance, giving them insurance recommendations on their home or whatnot. But there's so many other small little details that they have to consider after their offer is potentially accepted, right?
Which is great. So it sounds like you've got a checklist item that you go through. And I think very similar to our process where the KYC, knowing your client, obviously you sit with them and you want to sort of get a bio and understand who they are. And to your point, obviously knowing, what it is that they're going to need. Are they looking for schools? Is it important for them to have universities close by for their kids or whatnot? So certainly great, absolutely. It's great recommendations. And I really do appreciate the fact that you sit down with a client and go through those checklists, because at any point in time, there's going to be a lot of questions that arise from either the vendor or the purchaser, as to what that process looks like. And if then all of a sudden, something pops up with them that you didn't set a certain expectation, now we become the bad guy.
Exactly.
Right. So, and that's what we want to try to avoid. So that's awesome that you have those steps in place. There's a lot of costs associated on both sides. Yep. Can you break down, some of those costs that a borrower or somebody who is looking to either sell or purchase their properties may encounter?
Yeah, I mean, for let's start on the buying side. So when you get your pre-approval done, that all incorporates your down payment and how much money you'll have to actually put towards the home, right? So You have a down payment which could range anywhere between 5 and 20%. You can, with the new rules that came out in December, anything over 1.5 now has to have 20% down. Anything less than 1.5, you can put less than 20% down. So that'll obviously change what that first investment will be. On top of that, you have things to consider like closing costs. So you have your lawyer fees, which range anywhere between $1,500 to $3,000. Title insurance, the home inspection, because some listings won't include a home inspection, right? And some buyers just want to do their own so they can fully understand the flaws or any small cosmetic changes they may need to make, or even understand, will I have to change the roof next year or the furnace? Like, these are all big ticket items that you want to know so you can budget accordingly down the line, right? And then the big thing is your land transfer tax as well.
For sure.
I mean, on, let's say, an $800,000 purchase, you're paying roughly $8,500 in land transfer tax. That's doubled in the city of Toronto because you have your municipal and provincial land transfer tax, right?
It's a double whammy.
It's the double whammy, right?
Yeah.
But if you're a first-time home buyer, you do get a rebate back, right? So that's a good thing. And then other small things like title insurance and things like that. But typically for closing costs, you kind of estimate it around 5%.
Okay. Is that your process when you're sitting with the customer? Do you go through that with them?
So that's something that I explained in the beginning, right? So they know, because they could come back and have a pre-approval of, let's say, $1.2 million, right? For me, my goal is not to extend that budget and find them 1.2. We know they're comfortable at that 1.2, but ideally, sticking around that 1.1 to 1.15 mark would be the most absolute ideal scenario for them. Keeps them comfortable, it gives them enough leeway to kind of offset those closing costs as well. But there's different strategies for different clients, right? And that's why it's important for us to have that probe call first to understand what their needs and wants are. And from there, we move forward.
Okay, awesome. Great advice. Another question, in these markets where, we do happen to see a lot of competitive offers, multiple offers that come into play from time to time, and you often hear, "Oh, we've got 20 offers on this house," and what have you. How do you prepare one of your buyers going into a multiple offers? What advice would you give them? Is there anything that you look for? Do you advise them on something or anything or prepare them, more importantly, when you're going into these type of offers?
Yeah, so it's really tricky because when you run into those multiple offer situations, it can be quite nerve-wracking, right? But what we can do as agents is create a relationship as well with the listing agent. Right? If I'm just going to show a home, not talk to the listing agent, just submit an offer, I mean, there's really been no relationship that's created in order to get my clients a slight competitive edge, because at the end of the day, a working relationship with other agents really matters, right? They appreciate that honesty, that transparency, and that integrity. It's not like we're pushing, accept my offer. No, it's a very calm and collected kind of conversation. But other things that can be done, other than our job is to communicate clearly and frequently with the listing agent, is to have a deposit check in hand, right? So you having a deposit, and a strong deposit. Typically the average is 5%, but if you have the ability to put 10%, all the better, and include it with the offer, that adds extra strength. Also, in a multiple offer situation, limit conditions. So ideally it would be a firm offer. And that's typically how the scenario kind of runs out, right? Because if you have an offer that's, let's say, $1 million, right? And then you have $1 million and it's conditional on financing. And you have another offer that's $995,000 and it's a firm offer. Probably 9.9 times out of 10, that seller will choose the $995 offer, knowing that it's a done and dusted deal, right? They don't need to worry about financing. So limiting those conditions are also very important. And then in some cases, there are people who have lived in homes their entire life. So it's not so much about the money aspect, but it's more emotional. So you could get your clients to create a personalized letter showing who they are as a family, send it to the seller, because that could carry a lot of weight for any particular seller who's in an emotional sell and not so much a strictly financial sell. Right? Small things like that, but it's also just setting expectations as well. We were in an offer date recently for a home in the Scarborough area. It had 18 offers on it.
Wow. Okay.
In today's market. 18 offers. And obviously my clients had a budget and we put in plus 22% over asking price.
Right.
In any other market, that would have gotten things done, right? Typically, people undervalue their property by around 20%, and then they expect that 20% back on an offer date. This actually went for plus 33%. Just from the sheer amount of offers, because a listing agent now has the ability to kind of move around and look at those top 3 offers, and if they're all close, you get them to come back, and that's how it works. But it's still happening, and I will note that it's not the entire market. I mean, if you go to Brampton and Mississauga, those markets, you will find no offer dates. Right? And
it becomes area specific.
Yes, and like micro pockets, like the beaches, like semi-detached homes in the beaches, I mean, you're getting offer dates on every single property, right? So it all depends, but it's setting the expectations with your clients, on making them understand the process, but it's also up to us as agents to create that relationship with the listing agent to give us the best chance possible.
Yeah, for sure. But you bring up a good point, and sort of to elaborate a little bit on that, when I hear that there's a lot of there's a lot of multiple offers happening out there. I think my thought on that is, we often worry about, well, there's not a lot of buyers, it's really slow in the market and what have you. But when you start hearing that, you talk about there was 18 offers on one. I was speaking to another real estate friend of mine, and he said, hey, they had 20. Well, that's 18 and 20. Take the 2 away, you've got 37 buyers out there looking for a home. So it is active.
It is active.
It is active, right? So I think it just comes down. There's a lot of folks sitting on the sideline right now, hoping that interest rates continue to drop. Obviously, they're hoping that real estate is going to drop. But in my opinion, I'd be very cautious about that, right? Sitting on the fence, because what's going to happen as the inventory shrinks, you're going to see that real estate prices are going to go up, and what they could have bought possibly for $500,000, they're having to bid for $550,000.
Correct.
So, I think if there's, I always like to tell my customers, look, is there a best time to buy? I don't think so. I think if it's affordable to you right now, I think it's great. Go with it. Eventually, real estate is always going to appreciate. It's always going to go down. But if you're an end user, it means you might be a lifer there. So you're going to see that volatility. So that's awesome, and great points.
Actually, interesting point to that as well. And I'll just quickly add in. So for example, in late 2021 and early 2022, what did you see? We had buyers come in and they were paying top dollar for these properties. So our number one question was, how long are you going to be staying in this place, right? And if they said this is going to be like a 10-year place, I said, that's okay.
That's it.
And if they said this was a 3 to 5 year place, I said, maybe we need to rethink our strategy, because from a valuation perspective, we don't know what's going to happen, right? Because we're exerting ourselves so much that the market will retract itself. And that's exactly what happens. So it's also just being open and honest, because at the end of the day, we're not here for a quick transaction. We're here to build relationships, because we want lifelong clients, right? So just being open and honest, we'll get the job done.
Awesome. Great advice. One last question before we find out a little bit more about you. What are some of the common pitfalls that a buyer might encounter? And if you were to give them advice, is there any way that they can avoid some of these pitfalls?
Yes, great question. So I guess the first thing would be, and I mean, it's one of the mandatory things that we look for in a buyer when they come to the market, is some of them don't get a pre-approval. Right? That's a huge pitfall. Because you don't even know what you can afford. Right? And that changes drastically in terms of the outlook and where to look for a specific property, like property specific. Just in terms of in general, right? The other thing is they're very emotional about the purchase. Like, oh, we love the house, we love the area, but when you walk in, as agents, we have to do our best to kind of bring them back to reality. So a lot of them are making emotional based transactions where they really have to sit down and look and be like, okay, you know what? there's mold here, or there was water damage here, but like they're so in love with the house in general that they kind of overlook those items.
Yeah.
But those are very expensive items to remedy at the end of the day,
For
right?
sure.
So it's making a very practical decision as opposed to a very emotional one, right? Another thing is a lot of them will just they won't do a home inspection,
Right.
and that is a main indicator of it's a main indicator of what to look out for in the future, right, for the home. And then a lot of them are just they're not really ready to push the trigger,
Right.
you know. So they want to dibble and dabble in the market, but they don't know how they want to kind of pursue it.
Right.
So that delay. I mean, when you enter the real estate market, you want to be ready. Right? You have to know what you want. You have to have everything in line to make the right decision. But if you're still wishy-washy about things, I mean, a lot of things can slip through the cracks as a result, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
It makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. No, I appreciate it. It's a lot of great advice for sure. And again, you know, as to your points, when you've got a buyer going out there, I think there's a lot of pre-work that needs to be done to make sure that, you know, that buyer is, as you mentioned, they're pre-qualified. You're going out there because the last thing you want to do is go into an offer, as you mentioned, and then know that they can't afford it.
Yeah.
So I think we would certainly recommend visiting Sherwood Mortgage Group and speaking to us in the pre-approval, so we can hand you back off to the professionals and get you started in your home purchasing. Before we call it a day. I see you're a Blue Jay fan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and are you a basketball fan as well?
I am a basketball fan, but you know what? I am a soccer fan.
Oh, you're a
I am a diehard Arsenal fan.
Arsenal.
Yes.
Well, we have a lot of English for some reason. You know, my interviews here with a lot of the English leagues, they tend to forget that, you know, the Serie A Italian, Naples,
please,
you know,
please.
Napoli, you know, that's right. Yeah, the number one there. But anyways, let's forget about soccer for a second. But the Blue Jays are in a top spot right now.
No, we went down one spot. We lost against Boston yesterday.
We lost in extra innings, right?
Yeah.
We were.
So it's
we were up and we lost in the 10th. Yes,
Yeah.
You're right. So
we are now down to second. Yankees are back up on top.
But I think they're going to have a great year.
I think so too.
They've got all, and Vladdy just signed a huge contract.
That's $500 million.
Yeah,
that a boy.
Jeez, I don't know.
I'm so happy, and I just bought his jersey 2 weeks ago, so I was like a little bit nervous. I was like, I hope he stays because I just bought this jersey.
Well,
and he did. Thank God.
Hang on to that. It could be a future Hall of Famer.
Yes, sir.
All
yes,
right.
sir.
Listen, I really do appreciate you stopping by and sitting with me and. Obviously educating and giving us your insight on what the market holds right there currently right now. However, how can our viewers contact you? Tell us, do you have a website, Instagram, Facebook? Let them know where they can connect with you.
Definitely. So in terms of Facebook, it's Arif Nasser, or my business page, Moving Forward with Arif Nasser. Instagram handle is @Arif Nasser. My Google page, you can also search. It's called Moving Forward with Arif Nasser. And I think I went through all the socials right there.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I'm very easy to find. All my information would be on my Google profile. So have a look and get in contact if you need anything. We'd be more than happy to help out.
Awesome. Well, young man, I appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you once again to all our viewers. We're here again, and hope you continue to follow us on Real Estate Meets Finance. Have a great day.
Take care.